What do role models actually mean to us? Is it really important to have role models? Everyone has different role models when they grow up. A lot of teenagers have celebrity role models, especially young teens. I personally have never had a celebrity role model to shape my identity, but I have had other role models, and a large part of my identity is shaped by being a role model. From my own perspective, I don't believe that celebrity role models can be a really good thing, as they can influence young girls to making them feel they need to be perfect. This is because of the way they are portrayed. You rarely see a celebrity not dressed up or looking natural, and it does put a lot of pressure on teenagers. This could create a low self-esteem for some teenagers. The looking glass theory is where you see yourself through other people's opinions. My identity used to be based on this. I used to think I had to wear lots of makeup to impress people because I worried too much what people thought of me. I put on a persona in front of different people. I started being somebody I wasn't and put on an act most of the time. Being something I wasn't made me feel uncomfortable, and I didn't feel like me. A lot of people assume that we have one true self. They say they have one true personality and believe it is your true self. However, we don't have one true self, as we change our personalities around different people in different situations, and we adapt ourselves to the environment we are in. As in Rogers' concentric circle theory, he sees role modelling as evidence that we have a number of layers or levels of self-consciousness. He suggested the gap between self-image and ideal self is likely to be a measure of an individual's self-esteem. This is Rogers' concentric circles model. The public self is what you show everyone in the way you present yourself. The private self is what you show in front of your friends and family. The core self is who you really are, your inner self. I believe our core self is constantly changing. Expectations play a huge part in my identity. As I am the eldest, I am expected to do well so my younger brother and sister could follow in my footsteps. This put huge amounts of pressure on me, as I felt I had to do well. What I am is completely different to what I am expected to be. When I was younger, I was my own self. I never wanted to be a role model to my sister, but I was expected to be by people. I didn't expect myself to be a role model, but when she started getting into trouble, I was able to control her, and I started to generally like being there for her and grew to like the idea that somebody actually looked up to me. My idea as a role model is someone who is close to you. My granddad was my role model when I was a child, as I looked up to him a lot. He was in the Navy, and he used to tell me stories about when he fought in the war. My granddad was also patient with me and had a lot of time for me and my siblings. He was caring and was always interested in what I had to say, and he always listened to me. The main subject he was always concerned about was school. I loved sitting listening to him, and he showed me that I didn't need to be perfect, and he made me realise that I had to be a good role model for my younger brother and sister. When my granddad passed away, it was the hardest and worst thing that ever happened to me, but I still had to step up and be someone that my sister and brother could look up to. For us to be properly socialised, we rely heavily on role models. Role models are a huge part of people's identity. Maslow's hierarchy of needs shows belonging and social as third on the pyramid. Celebrity role models come into this category, as some people may believe that they can only belong in a society if they be like their role models. They put on a persona to try and be more like them. My sister considers me as a role model. Although she is only 11 months younger than me, she still looks up to me. I try and be a good role model to my sister because she is the closest thing to me and we get on really well. She is a huge part of my identity, as I am always with her. We spend most of our time together and I know everything about her. Growing up, we were very close and we had the same friends and hung around with each other. At school, she used to get into trouble and I would get teachers come into my class to get me to sort her out. I taught her a lot of lessons at school and made her see sense to what she was doing was wrong, and she didn't need to make the teachers' lives a misery. At this point, I went into my parent ego state while she was still in her child ego state. Teachers expected me to sort her out or calm her down. It became my self-fulfilling prophecy, as I was older than her and I was her older sister, and I was expected to be her role model, and because of this I naturally became it. My role as a big sister is to support her and look after her no matter how old she is. She was very insecure when she was younger, as she would always fall out with her friends, and to boost her self-esteem I introduced her to my outside school friends. After we started going out all the time together, no one knew us to be apart. If we went together, people would be sort of shocked. It's like it wasn't normal for me to be out without her. It made me feel secure to have Shelby around me, as Gergen and Gergen's self-maintenance strategy is about mixing with like-minded people. I felt more comfortable with my identity as it was so closely linked to hers. We both have always stood by each other through everything, no matter what the situation was. We go through so much together, and she's always said that I'm her role model because I showed her she doesn't have to go down the wrong path. She stopped coming out with me, and eventually I was known as my own person, as before I wasn't. Then she got pregnant and found out she is having a little baby boy due in August. I was so happy when I heard the news, but I felt I had let her down as her role model as she is only 18. However, she said I had never let her down as I can now try to be a role model to her baby. My role as her big sister is to support her and do what I have done for the past years and be the best role model I could be for my nephew. The fact that the age gap is so close between us is so small means this is probably the reason she considers me as someone to look up to. When we was younger, I was mostly in my parent ego state and she was in her child ego state. As we got older and she did become pregnant, our relationship changed and I no longer have to be in my parent ego state. My sister has a huge impact on my identity because I wouldn't really be the person I am today if it wasn't for her. The reason behind this is because she did sometimes steer me in the right direction. We could be considered as role models to each other, even if she is younger than me. I like to think I was a good role model for my sister, and this identity has shaped me probably more than it did her. However, as we were like role models to each other, I tend to put on a persona and be different in front of her than I am in front of my friends. My granddad showed me how to behave in society by saying you have to choose your path wisely. He taught me I could either mess up and have nothing or put my head to it and have everything. I took my granddad's words and advice and taught my sister she has to not give up on everything she does as it will get her nowhere. The common assumption is that our peers shape us more than our family and we find relationships outside the home more than we do inside the home. Me and my sister were more like friends than we was sisters. But however, my granddad was family and he shaped my identity and personality a lot more than what my friends did. I'm glad I could be a role model for my sister. We have drifted, but we are still close. I still want to be her role model and I will always look after her as she shaped my identity and made me who I am today.